Hello, this is video 2, just a short, and of the series Tips for Coaches series 1. When we were talking last time, we talked a little bit about the facilitation style of the sort of coaching I do, and how occasionally if the jaw of your coachee drops and they don't really understand the context or have experience in the area in which you're beginning to explore together, that it may be necessary to offer them some stories, some examples, or maybe even offer them more detail. And that is perhaps not terribly common, but it does happen in some coaching situations that people do get a little bit stuck and you need to help them. The important thing is to start from that coaching and facilitating style, the questioning style for them, so that they find their own solutions, because those are the ones they're going to get motivated to continue with and to succeed in. And as coaches, if we have one thing that we need to do, and we should be quite overt about it, is that we want our coachees not just to be successful once, but we need them to be repetitively successful. We want them to have a pattern of success, because if they have a pattern of success, they will get the self-confidence and they will get the self-esteem to be able to continue without you. So that's absolutely vital. So who is coaching for? Well, coaching, as you can see from the model of coaching I'm talking about, performance coaching, is for that coachee, it's for that individual. Now there are caveats to that, which we'll talk about in another video, where you have a client, which would be perhaps an organisation that is paying you and wants specific outcomes from the coaching in order to get value for money. But for the moment we'll concentrate just on the coachee. That's what coaches are doing. So who is the coaching for? It's for the coachee, and the line it takes should largely be up to that coachee. Now that doesn't mean that the coach is just sitting there and loses complete responsibility for the actual journey, to take a gestalt sort of approach to say, well, you know, it doesn't matter how long it takes and how many sessions we need, if it goes on for 10 years it doesn't matter. We do have a frame for that, and as part of our setup for that coaching sessions, we should be saying, well, yes, we're going to be looking at issues and goals that are important and significant, and I'm here to assist, support, help, to facilitate you to those particular targets and goals. Now, one of the important things about that is that if we're going to do that well, the questions that we need to ask are for that coachee. Now, lots of people who think they're coaches are mainly asking questions for themselves, for the coach, in order to try and understand what's going on, in order to try and work out what the next question is going to be, in order to try and get a clue, a little spark of light where they can concentrate their own experience and their own knowledge. But that isn't what I do, and it isn't what performance coaching are doing. Performance coaches are doing. What performance coaches are doing is to ask questions which are for the benefit, for the focus, for the self-reflection of the coachee, in order that they will learn. That's who the questions are for. And once we get that mindset of understanding that that's who the questions are for, we no longer need to panic or rehearse or worry about whether questions will come up, because the coachee will provide us with those. And a bit later on in the series we'll look at, well, what if you do get stuck as a coach? What if you don't know what to ask? What do we do? And we're going to look at that in a later video in this series. Now, I use the word mindset. By that I just mean a set of thinking, a set of beliefs perhaps, a set of values, a set of sense of maybe our sense of identity, maybe. You know, the values, the beliefs, the identities that we hold that create a mindset. Now, what's useful as a coach? What would be helpful? Well, there might be a whole lot of statements about what you're there for and what the coachee is there for. So it might help to have some beliefs that the coachee has the ability and the resources, or at least most of them, to find their way through that journey to be able to get to their own goals, their own targets, and to achieve them. In other words, that the work is with them and you are simply the facilitator. It might be useful to have a sense of what your role is as someone who is that facilitator. And for me, I often use the phrase servant leader. It comes from somebody called Robert Greenleaf many years ago. And the concept of servant and leader, and I don't mean leader as in I'm leading you along, but leader in the facilitating sense. So I'm asking questions, I'm challenging you in order to know more about your world, about your thinking, about your motivation. Then the servant leader for me is quite a useful concept to take on and believe as the coach. One of the things, just to finish off here, is that a lot of novice coaches in particular know too much, and particularly if they work with people or done the particular job that that individual has done, and that does tend to get in the way, even to the extent that a coach may not be very enthralled or excited about the particular plan that their coachee has come to. Now, the job of the coach isn't to wrestle with the coachee and say, well, actually, I've got a better plan, a better idea, why don't you try this? The job of the coach is to make sure that if someone does have a plan, a goal, that they are able to do that, to get there, to succeed in it in a sustainable way. And I mean sustainable in the sense that they can do it, they can keep their health, they can keep their relationships at work, they can keep their relationships outside of work, and they can continue to perform. So that's sustainable. We don't, I think, need to be saying, well, actually, I did it this way when I was your age, and I think you should do that. Because again, we're getting to that thing, well, I think you should have a yellow car, and then you wouldn't get into so many accidents, or, I'm telling you what to do. And I don't think that's a useful way forward. I think people need to be committed, to be motivated, and that means finding their own solutions. This is the end of video 2 in series 1. I hope you'll join me for video 3 in the series. Thank you for listening.